Venues are another huge area that we could probably sit and have a discussion all day about, but I've broken it into a few areas that take up most of my time when I'm drafting. Generally, your wedding venues are going to be bigger homes, hotels, bed and breakfasts, but you're also seeing now smaller homes and smaller manor houses be used as wedding venues for more intimate ceremonies. There's kind of a trend in scaling weddings back down and being a lot more intimate, yet still very costly affairs, but using houses that have been gutted and re-restored for those events. So you're going to want to talk to your venue, the owner of your venue, about getting insurance for the business itself, and then also for the event for the wedding couple. Wedding insurance is actually a thing, and it's becoming more and more popular. And some of my venues wish to require that their couples purchase wedding insurance online. If you Google wedding insurance online, you can find it. It's anywhere from $100 to a couple $100, and it insures over top of the venue's insurance that if anything goes wrong or anything happens, they'll be covered. I think the premium, I think it goes up to about a $2 million coverage. So it's just something that you might want to address with your venue clients to see if that interests them in requiring their clients to maintain that type of special event insurance. Now, force majeure clauses probably impact venues the most. Anyone who took contract law probably remembers the case out of England that involves a venue of some sort that burnt down, and whether they had to rebuild the venue to ensure they didn't breach their contract or not. That's kind of a long time ago for many of us, but I still remember it. And so when I started drafting wedding venue contracts, my mind immediately went back to that case. I would be very specific when it comes to weather, because if you are a venue that is providing an outdoor space and also an indoor space, rain may cancel some sort of outdoor event or some ceremony outdoors, but it doesn't mean that that force majeure clause is going to kick in and that the bride and groom don't have to pay for that section. This especially goes for venues that have multiple options, such as, beach houses where the event was going to happen on a patio outside, and it had to be, and that was an additional cost to have that event space blocked off. But it was sprinkling, so they moved the event inside. You want to make sure that your venues are covered so that the bride and groom don't, or the couple doesn't refuse to pay for those extra services that were made available to them just because it rained. Some of the words that I have taken from my meteorologist friends that I like to use include tornadic activity and snow causing a state of emergency to run this point home, and specifically disclaim that this doesn't mean sprinkling or rain showers. Granted, lightning, you might want to allow that, but another issue that venues need to be acutely aware of is the influence of alcohol on their liability. Wedding venues want to be able to serve alcohol. They, in conjunction with their local law enforcement, are going to need to be following all of the rules and regulations that touch that area. But serving alcohol at a venue automatically opens up a lot of liability for the operators of the venue. If you are in a state that has dram shop acts, make sure you are very aware of them and what those laws require of anyone who is distributing alcohol. Dram shop acts, for those of you who are not familiar, are statutes and case law that hold that retail establishments and social hosts are liable for damages caused by serving alcohol to an obviously intoxicated person. So that means bartenders, people that work for a specific venue, if they are serving alcohol to those who are obviously intoxicated, and the individual goes out and either gets in a car accident or causes some sort of property damage, then the venue or whatever, whoever was serving that alcohol can be held liable for those issues. I'm in Virginia, and we don't have those sort of acts, but it's something that you'll need to look into for your clients when you begin drafting these agreements. One way to help limit liability, not just for those in Dram Shop Act law states, but for those in any states, just to help limit potential liability and potential damage caused to the venue, or any sort of negative press that may come with that damage, is to require your servers to stop serving alcohol 1 hour before the event ends and essentially give time for all those guests attending the event to sober up before they go home. Also, another thing you can do, the venue can require in their contract that the bride and groom have some sort of means of transportation for their guests, or provide some sort of either bus to get back to the hotel or things like that. You can write that into your contract to push the potential for alcohol-related incidences happening away from the venue. So essentially what you're doing is just trying to protect and insulate that venue as much as possible from the bad things that happen when people are celebrating a little bit too hard and drink too much. Fire is a huge area for venues as well because of the potential for things to literally go down in flames. Open flames like candles are used a great deal in the wedding industry, and so if you are working with a venue who is a historic property, they may want to limit the use of open flames completely, or just make sure that the use of flames is limited to certain areas of the property or used with glass containers. So those are some ways to kind of get around completely getting rid of the use of open flame, while still protecting from the potential of someone who is having too much of a great time from knocking over a candle and catching the historic property on fire. An area that has really kind of picked up some chatter lately is the use of sparklers in wedding, especially exit ceremonies. Some of you may have seen a story that has been circulating on the internet about, which is actually a true story, which is great, about a wedding photographer who essentially almost lost the use of his hand because he was at a sparkler exit and the sparklers essentially exploded onto his hand while he was holding them. And I did a little bit of research into this and saw the article and read all about it and saw the terrible pictures that resulted. Thankfully, he has almost all the mobility back in his hand, but it really scared a lot of my photographer clients and a lot of my wedding venue clients because they are concerned about the liability that they might incur from use of sparklers. And apparently the reason this happened is because of the type of sparklers that were used. So I did a little bit of research and went on to weddingsparklers.com, and they've had a lot of very similar questions about it, and they recommend requiring the use of 20-inch or 30-inch sparklers, so not the little ones that you use on 4th of July, which honestly I feel are dangerous and scary myself as an adult, but they recommend you use the 20 or 30-inch sparklers for less potential for problems to occur. So in your contract, when you're drafting for a venue, you can say that you specify that the only kind of sparklers to be used are the 20, 30-inch ones. They are available at this place. Please ask us if you have any questions. But it's one more way to just kind of nip that in the bud before it starts and make sure that everybody's taken care of and make sure that your venue operators don't have some sort of liability for if someone is gravely injured on that property. A final kind of area to be concerned about when you're dealing with venues is to reserve the right to eject unruly guests from the property. all of the contracting that you're essentially doing when you're working with venues is to deal with people who are possibly going to cause issues at the wedding. I mean, fire, alcohol, things like that. You are dealing with the potential for a lot of issues to occur, and you want to be able to protect your venue in a way that they can eject people who are displaying this sort of disruptive or potentially hazardous behavior from the property if they're not following your rules. And this might be the father of the bride, and maybe he is paying for this wedding, but you want to be able to say, no, he is putting us in danger of losing our ABC license because he's giving alcohol to minors, or no, he is putting us in danger of our venue burning down because he is lighting fires in the back. It's a true story. And not have someone refuse to pay you afterwards. And even if they try to, you can say, look, this was in our contract. We are allowed to remove that guest.